We're going to be nice. We're going to say nice things. We're going to say nice things. Hey, everyone. Nerd named Mark here, and it's time to talk about episode 48 of Kamen Geats. We have one episode left after this. One episode left. And this episode did not feel like an episode. Okay, let me rephrase that. For the most part, two-thirds of this episode did not feel like an episode going into the finale of the series. It really didn't. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I have been very positive about this show for 47 episodes. I think, well, I haven't been overly positive, but I've like, even with my Saber reviews, when I was talking about Saber and Revice, I try to find the positive to talk about. Don't want to talk overly negative. I will bring up constructively issues that don't make sense. But I actually kind of like this episode. I think the latter half of it was good. Beginning kind of felt a bit. This could have easily worked like at the halfway point of the show. We've had so many DGPs in the last like dozen episodes, like different games we've had. Like I bring it up like last week and almost every week I've been reviewing because it's pertinent to why my opinion is the way it is on this show right now. You have another DGP that just started up, like more of a classic one to an extent. And this goes with the long line of other ones. We had the Parasite games, the Bad End game, the what's that other one they had? Apocalypse, Paradise, or Parasite, the Bad End. I'm sure there's one more. There's another one too. And my thing is just I do because it wasn't really talked about fully, but it was a cool concept that I like was with this DGP, Samus is back with Soul. And so people were now forced into being in this DGP. And, we saw in the end of the last episode, Dark Sumeri or Sumeri 2.0 was basically walking around giving her condolences when handing the mission boxes with the drivers in them to people. And I was like, that was a cool, like, parallel to, you know, a regular Sumeri congratulating people, you know? I thought it was really cool. But these people are forced, they don't even get the henshin on their own. Like, Dark Sumeri is doing the old school Kamen Rider henshin pose, and everyone henshins. They're forced to fight each other to take the happiness away from the other person, and there's only one left standing. I like the concept that this would have been a great DGP arc to kind of interject towards the end of the 20s, maybe early 30s, around like 31, 32 for the episode count to expand on this. This seems just like kind of like a filler almost, uh one thing, I mean, Kawa got his job back at the noodle shop. Obviously, after the broadcast of his fight with Kakura, he's now publicly a Kamen Rider and, getting praise, which was really nice to see kind of a non doom and gloom Kawa, and not just, we need to say the game, just, civilian life. I like that. That's the thing I've missed in the show is some of the civilian side of things, which we kind of lost sight of for a bit. Also, they did Michinaga dirty. Where's my boy's drip? Okay, just a t-shirt. That's it. Like he had some good drip for a while there, and now he's relegated to a t-shirt. Michinaga deserves more. Okay, he does. My boy Buffa, big fan, obviously, with this Night of the Living Buffa shirt that will be available soon on onlyhedgins.com. I got a shameless plug right there for you, but that's beside the point. Um, him being the good guy now, trying to hold off and stop these Kamen Rider from fighting each other. And why I bring this up is the cool concept was Sumeri is forcing them to henshin. They aren't henshining on their own, but they have like basically no ID cores and no like distinguishable like animal helmet. It's just all black with kind of the controller top almost to an extent when Glare was taking over riders. So I thought that was a very basic design, but a cool concept of these basically civilian riders that aren't, I don't consider them Kamen Riders. They have the arms buffaloes, but they're not, there's no ID core, there's no real name for them, they're just Kamen Riders. I thought that was really cool. We saw Ace henching and fighting them. We saw, a couple that transformed inside the noodle shop that Kayla was talking to, and they chose not to fight each other. And this is where the intriguing part of this, like DGP, comes into play because they run off. They don't want to fight each other. We see a game master, a whole bunch of game masters, honestly, with blue, red, this and that, etc. And because they choose not to fight the will of the audience, like, what do we want to do? And the audience, really quick, regard Omega. Love that suit. I already talked about it, but the eyes are the viewers, but they also talk. So they're like elimination, elimination. So this game master snaps his fingers and they explode. And I was like, okay, now I'm a little more receptive to this DGP. I like that. And so the whole thing is basically Sewell is catering to the viewers that are basically the bad end fans, and that's it. Uh, and right when I saw the first Game Master pop up with a blue and white mask, I was like, we're getting Jori. He's coming back. Like, that's technically, from a Wish standpoint, that's Sumeri and Ace's dad, technically. Their family. And that's what happened. Okay. We had Ace and Sumeri go back to their family home, and I was like, oh, wow, we haven't seen this set in a while. That's well maintained for being abandoned. And Jory comes back, and I was like, all right, I'm getting more intrigued by things, but at the same time, after this episode, one episode left, why are you pulling all this for 48? It's like, I get it, you're throwing everything out there, but I think we could have had a build up. If this even happened a few episodes ago, where we see Jory as a game master kind of subtly not go along with things instead of it all happening in a span of 10 minutes, uh, because while Sewell and Samas are, watching on and talking about, their nice DGP, Ace shows up at their little pocket world, and Jory let him in. And Jory even, like, lays down the law. He's just like, listen, you're catering to this little bit of viewership. I want a pure DGP. Basically, he wants a pure DGP, that how it used to be when he was game master, you know, and so he's turned on them, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. And before I get into the main part of the episode I actually enjoyed, when Punk Jack, non Kamen Rider Punk Jack, who is technically a Kamen Rider but doesn't transform at all, uh, he's fighting a game master. I was like, that they've kind of used Win as this whole, hey, let's show some civilian fighting, because that's all he does now. And it's always usually really good. He's fighting a game master, and it's obviously not going in his favor. It's a game master here, okay? And Win is just Win. My thing is, making the save and starting to hold off all the commoners around the city and everything else are Jamatos with sunflowers on their head, being controlled by Daichi. Y'all really gave this man a redemption arc, okay? Like, I don't want, like, I like sniveling weasel, like, shady Daichi. He was such a good character for those few episodes of the Disaster arc. I know a lot of people, I didn't like that arc as a whole, but I liked him as a character. And it got taken from us. It got snatched away, and he got a redemption. And it was, you know, humorous and not serious at all. So I was like, all right, whatever. Uh, that's the main thing. And I just had to bring that up because I didn't want to gloss over it and have everyone be like, oh, you didn't talk about Daichi and the Jamato sunflowers. Okay, there we go. I talked about it. It's over. Um, we finally got Ace and Sewell showing their showdown. And as of the time of recording this, because I'm recording a day late, there's a hurricane here yesterday. I'm recording on Monday morning, pretty early. Um, the the Zillion driver's up for pre-order. In case you didn't know, I have it pre-ordered. I need that driver. I love the driver so much. The fight was so good between Geats 9 and Regad Omega. Um, I do like at one point he stopped moving because he no longer had his viewers supporting him, which was powering him. because this whole entire time, Neon and her dad, Timefire, basically, here's what happened. He still has a little pull, I guess, with his conglomerate, and he's going to, basically that whole like mobster mentality of, hey, listen, like, if you want to stop your support of what's going on right now, we can, make sure in your future timeline, the conglomerate, has your back, takes care of you, unless you want to keep supporting, then we can make your life no more difficult for you. There's no guarantee that you'd be able to even make it back to your timeline, your world. And I'm like, all right, touche. I like this about it. Like, there's so many things that show up in this episode that I like, that I wish, like, we could have saw more of it if some of this stuff was sooner, you know? Like, I want to know how, when after everything happened, Nan's dad literally said he was like that. He had no real oomph. The reason why he was able to henshin was because he went to Ace. So how does he still have this way to go to the pocket dimensions and this and that? So much stuff that I'm like, well, it's a TV show. We're not going to question it. So it's like, I kind of just, it happened. But the fight was good. We saw Ace about to just end Regad Omega. But he has a special little cool little button he presses, and he can rewind time, obviously, because being a higher up in the DGP, they go to these worlds that technically have already happened, and they can, kind of manipulate time. That's our rewinding stuff. But because the powers only work on mortals in this time period. That's the thing. Time period. This time period, right? And Ace gets rewound all the way, and the time bubble is just around him. It's not the whole world. It's just him, and he's all the way down to basically he's not even henshined. I thought that was really neat. It seems like something being pulled out of your ass for like a creative moment, but it's one of the ones where it's like it works for this moment. And then we see Sumri or Dark Sumri. I don't know because she's wearing the normals Sumri get up. I don't know if it's actually her or if it's the other one. She walks up with the Magnum 40 whatever. I always forget what that thing's called. And basically points it at him, and he even says, oh, it's, this is what's happening. He was, I'm ready, this and that. And it ends with us hearing the bang of the trigger being pulled. Not specifically seeing anything, but then obviously we see Ace on the ground with Sumri over him. I was really upset because when they're fighting, they hit the sprinklers, there's rain. I instantly was like, rain fight. That's what I need. I need it right now. I need I need, if it's a civilian rain fight, emotion on the face, the ranger. Like I was like, I'm all for a rain fight. This is like peak for me in Toku. That's like my go. That's my trope. That's my favorite. Did not happen. So this episode kind of feels like rushed. But like I said, there's pocket moments in the first two-thirds of it that I enjoyed. But the latter half of it is when I enjoyed the most. Like Garori showing back up, him and his reasoning for going against, Sul and Samas, everything else like that was really good. And now going into the final episode, it's kind of weird because we're going to be dealing with the fallout of basically Ace being killed and Sul power. Like obviously in the previews, I don't really talk about it, but like this is what we're going to be dealing with in the next episode. It's like intriguing because it is the last episode. How much are they going to fit in a 22-minute time frame? Like, and now I'm starting to question if the ending is going to be that like battle royale open ending loop where like a Ryuki style type thing. I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna get for an ending. I'm curious though, and also them very adamantly picking up on keywords like he can rewind time for mortals of this time period or this time era. I'm like, ooh, because we know Gene is coming back next episode, so I'm curious what is gonna if that's just an actual foreshadowing of something or if it's just a line explaining that why he can control Ace, even though from Ace, has those God of creation powers in him. So very curious about all this stuff. I'm hopeful. I think there's still a chance Geats sticks the landing with the final episode and it ends up being really good. I'm hopeful it is. Like I said, I can't talk about the show as a whole until it's actually over and I see the ending. But I did, to an extent, enjoy this episode. It was not the greatest episode, but I think things like seeing the Regad Omega suit in action, especially putting like the Magnum buckle on the side and having a whole bunch of guns hovering over, or when he's about to fall, he puts the boost there and a whole bunch of boost buckles come up behind him and like hold him up. I thought like a lot of visual appealing stuff in there. So it's not the best episode. It's a good episode. It's a middle of the road. This is a good episode. Is it a we're about to have the final episode next week? Good? No, it's not. But I'm curious what everyone else thinks. Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy this episode? What do you think is going to happen in the finale? Even though we saw, what we saw in the previews, but let me know what you think. What's the last 5 minutes of next week's episode going to be? Because I'm really curious. If you didn't check it on Tokutonic Shift, 2 weeks ago, I believe I did a power Google slide presentation about what I would do for the ending. It was ridiculous, but it might happen. No, I'm just kidding. It's not gonna. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think is gonna happen. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.